Hi, this is John Rosenhead, a Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parshas Eikev, we get a very interesting insight into the concept of parenting with limitations, setting boundaries, and in a sense, understanding more accurately the dynamics between a parent and a child. Because in this week's Parsha, we read a very interesting pasuk that says that a person should know in their heart, the Bnei Israel should know in their heart, that just as a father punishes a son or disciplines a son, so too does a Kadosh Baruch Hu punish or discipline the Bnei Israel. And this pasuk, in its depth, is hinting to the idea that punishment, in a sense, can be seen on face value as a punitive act, one that puts a person in its place. A child is put in their place by their father and uses punishment as a tool to achieve that. But what comes out from this pasuk, and certainly it is true from a psychological perspective, is that that's not the accurate way of understanding punishment in the sense of a healthy dynamic between a child and parent. Certainly in an unhealthy way, if punishment is used as a tool of communication, as a tool of that defines the interaction between a parent and a child, then that is not adaptive and that is not healthy. What the pasuk is alluding to is that discipline creates a framework of boundaries in which a child can thrive. And if it seems to be that there is, on face value, a punishment that is given, the child will know in their heart that it is actually for their benefit if it is used appropriately and accurately by the parent, in the sense that they know what form of punishment is appropriate, that it is clearly stated to the child why they are receiving this punishment or this limitation or this use of discipline. If a child understands it, then they will be able to internalize in their heart the understanding and accept fully that they understand that this is the Father is doing it, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing this act, is giving this act of discipline or punishment for their benefit, for the benefit of Bnei Yisrael. And this is actually, we can say is a message that, although there's a depth to the pasuk that we're reading, and it's clearly giving us food for thought to try to understand what is the dynamic between a parent and a child. We can actually just, if we want to try to work out how to inculcate this, not necessarily to delve into the depths of this pasuk and to read Mefarshim and to try to have discussions and to understand, which is perfectly is a good way to go, and it certainly is part of the idea. What I'm trying to expand here is to understand the depth of this pasuk. But the key to a child and also a parent being able to remind themselves what is the focus, what is the point of punishment, is that they shouldn't lose their cool or lose distraction or lose focus on what is the aim of the game. The aim of the game is a healthy, functioning, thriving relationship between a parent and a child. And to do that, it's useful to try and keep sort of code words or quick instant reminders, that flashes in their head, that keeps them focused. And they don't lose their cool, don't suddenly allow the situation to escalate or turn into an argument or an expression of anger. So what can we see from this week's parsha? That can be flashlights to remind us of what is the focus. So we have the title of this week's parsha, Parshas Eikev meaning because. And then if we go towards the end of the parsha, we read about the portion of Shema Yisrael, which starts Shema, listen. So if we take these two words, just two words, Eikev, meaning because, and Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, listen, that Hashem is your God. It's really putting and condensing the message of this dynamic of a father and a child, of a Kadosh Baruch Hu and his children, of Bnei Yisrael, into a clear structure of how do we understand that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that everything that Hashem does is for our good, and how does a father and a child keep that in mind? Because they remember, Eikev, because a father gives a certain guidelines, a father or parent does not have to justify it. does not have to give explanations, and certainly does not need to work into a mode of punishment if he understands that he is doing it for the good of the child, and that is his that is the aim of the parent. And therefore, if the child asks why, if the child wonders why, the parent, if they can rest on this word of Eikev, because a father knows that his parenting is grounded on a relationship, is grounded on trying to help and benefit the child, then because is enough. It's enough for the parent and it's enough for the child. Because when the father says, or mother, or the parent says, you need to do this, or these are our guidelines, or our limitations that we're setting for you, these are the rules of the home, and the child doesn't understand or argues against it, Eikev, because this is our parent, and the child knows and is able to accept in his heart, he understands that the father and the mother is doing it for his good. Therefore, it lies simply on the word because. It doesn't need any more explanation to it than that. And Shema is also a message to the child. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It's the root of our trust, our faith, our connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and it's the root of the love and the connection between a child and a father. So Eikev and Shema, listen, is actually giving the blueprint for the relationship of a child and a parent. It doesn't need any intense negotiation. It doesn't require punitive punishment and actions. If it runs and the relationship and the dynamics are healthy and functioning, then Eikev, because, and Shema, and listen, should be suffice. Have a good Shabbos and keep on.